What if your login screen could detect network changes and work offline? Let's build it in SwiftUI. This is what we will create in this tutorial. Using the network framework, the application is able to detect if you're connected to the network or not using either Wi-Fi or mobile data, as I will demonstrate. At the moment, at the bottom of the screen, you can see it shows the network connection status in green. We're connected to the Wi-Fi network at the moment. Now, if I change the connection to not connected to any Wi-Fi and then go back to the application, you will see that the status has been updated to not connected to the internet. And then if I go back again and change it to mobile data, you will see that the connection is now cellular as we're connected to mobile data for the internet. And then if I go back again and then select Wi-Fi, you will see that we are now connected to Wi-Fi network. So this is the actual application that we'll be creating in this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. The first class we need to create is our network monitor class, and this will monitor the detections to see when a network has been changed from offline to online, mobile connection using cellular data or using Wi-Fi. So we need to create a new Swift file. Name the file network monitor to be network monitor. Click and create. Import the network framework. Type the following: network monitor, observable object to detect any changes within the class, and then the updated changes will be used within the SwiftUI view using publish. Publish var is connected equals false. So that will publish any changes back to the UI. Publish var connection type is network interface dot interface type, and the purpose of that property is to store the current type of the internet connection, such as Wi-Fi, cellular, or any type of connection that we'll be dealing with in this tutorial. Next thing we need to do is to create an instance of our network path monitor, NW path monitor, and the purpose of the network path monitor is to monitor changes within the actual network, such as the connectivity changes. Private let queue equals dispatch queue label, network monitor, and this is the background queue where the network monitor will run. We next need to create our initializer to set up the network monitoring. Monitor.path update handler. And the purpose of the path update handler is needed so that the network refresh can be performed. Depending on the connection state. Weak self, path in, dispatch, queue, main async. Purpose of using dispatch queue main async is to ensure that the UI updates happen on the main thread. If we wanted to, we could use async and await, but for this one, I'll just use dispatch queue main async. Self, that's not the one. It should be self. So we're missing something. What we need to do now, we first need to create a few methods. One is called private func update connection type from path, NW path. So that will update the connection type based on the path provided. Connection type. And these are the types we will accept within the application. Wi-Fi, cellular, wired, Ethernet, loopback, wired Ethernet is spelled incorrectly. We type it out again. Or I was missing the full stop before the W. And it's not that. Let's type it out again. Wired Wi-Fi, comma, dot cellular, comma, dot wired Ethernet, comma, dot loopback. First, where path dot uses interface type. I don't know why this is not compiling. Connection type. That's not it. Connection type. Connection. Oh, that is it. On lines 14, for the interface type, that should be optional, so we need a question mark. Then we can delete the exclamation mark on line 34. And then we can go back to our dispatch queue main async and then type the following: self dot update connection type from path. So that will update the type of connection, such as Wi-Fi, cellular, or loopback or wired Ethernet that we're using on our device. And then what else do we need? We need to check for an actual internet connection or internet access. So we need to create another function to do that. Private func check actual internet access guard let URL equals URL, which is a URL string. And to check the actual internet connection, we will use the following URL. You can use any URL really, but I'm just using apple.com library test success.html. Else just return. Var request equals URL request URL, and then we pass in the URL, which is the Apple endpoint. Request dot timeout, that should be 5 seconds. URL session dot shared data task with request. So this is what we're posting to the server to see if we will get anything back. Make it weak self, so it's not in a retained cycle. Response error in dispatch queue main sync. And now we will check if the HTTP response has a valid response code. Let HTTP response equals response as HTTP URL response self is connected. So if it's between 200 and it's less than 300, so if the response code is less than 300 but more than 200, then that means we have a valid response. But if it couldn't get a response code, then we just use a default value of -1. if let error. So we need to unwrap the error. Let me just print the error to the console. Really, this error should be thrown to the UI. Error dot localize description. And then we start the request by typing in resume. Else the completion won't be called. And then what else do we need? Has no member resume. Why is that? Let's see if we can fix that issue afterwards then. So what else is needed? We need to cancel the monitor when the instance has been deallocated. So we need a dinit method, monitor.cancel. Initializer may only be declared within a class, but this is a class. I think I've got too many brackets. Oh, that's what it is. On line 29, that bracket. I think that's where the bracket should be there. But there's something else that's been missed out. We need to start the monitoring. And that should happen after line 28. Monitor dot start. So we start the monitoring using the custom background queue. And then we need to call the method check for the actual internet access. Resume. I think what it is. So that looks correct. And maybe resume should be 59. It seems like that fixed the issue. In the next tutorial, we'll implement the no internet view. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. What if your login screen could detect network changes and work offline. Let's build it in SwiftUI. This is what we will create in this tutorial. Using the network framework, the application is able to detect if you're connected to the network or not using either Wi-Fi or mobile data, as I will demonstrate. At the moment, at the bottom of the screen, you can see it shows the network connection status in green. We're connected to the Wi-Fi network at the moment. Now, if I change the connection to not connected to any Wi-Fi and then go back to the application, you will see that the status has been updated to not connected to the internet. And then if I go back again and change it to mobile data, you will see that the connection is now cellular as we're connected to mobile data for the internet. And then if I go back again and then select Wi-Fi, you will see that we are now connected to Wi-Fi network. So this is the actual application that we'll be creating in this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. In this tutorial, we will implement the No Internet view that shows the connectivity status such as Wi-Fi connectivity, mobile connectivity, waiting for internet connection, and also no internet connectivity. Create a new SwiftUI view. Name the view No Internet View. And then type the following after lines 11. So we can delete the text element. We need a V-stack, spacing 20. We also need to display our image. That will be our system name, Wi-Fi dot exclamation mark. And the font of the system image will be system size 80, weight semi-bold, and that will set the icon size and the weight. The foreground color of the icon will be orange. The orange. The next thing we need to create is our text element. No internet connectivity. font, title 3, font weight, semi-bold, our next text element that we need to create is please check your internet connection. To continue using the app, we need multi-line text alignment. And then we need to center the sentence. Foreground color, foreground style, that needs to be, or we can set it to grey. It doesn't need to be grey, but we can just set it to grey. Text, which will show waiting for internet connection. Font, caption, foreground, style, white, padding, add padding around the text, frame, max width, infinity, and it should be max width. Infinity, the Mac is running very slowly again, so let's infinity, background, color, ancient color, corner radius, eight to enable round corners, font design, round, so that we use a rounded font style for a more friendlier look. And then we need some padding, which is horizontal, which adds horizontal padding outside the background. On lines 32, It should be, let me try it this way, color dot agent color. Font design, oh, that should be rounded on line 34. So we need ED at the end. And then after line 36, we need to add some padding around our entire restack. Let's see if it will work in the preview. The preview has finally loaded. So this is what the preview should look like. In the next tutorial, we will start to implement the content view that we'll call the network monitor that we implemented in the previous tutorial. Don't forget to... What if your login screen could detect network changes and work offline? Let's build it in SwiftUI. This is what we will create in this tutorial. Using the network framework, the application is able to detect if you're connected to the network or not using either Wi-Fi or mobile data, as I will demonstrate. At the moment, at the bottom of the screen, you can see it shows the network connection status in green. We're connected to the Wi-Fi network at the moment. Now, if I change the connection to not connected to any Wi-Fi and then go back to the application, you will see that the status has been updated to not connected to the internet. And then if I go back again and change it to mobile data, you will see that the connection is now cellular as we're connected to mobile data for the internet. And then if I go back again and then select Wi-Fi, you will see that we are now connected to Wi-Fi network. So this is the actual application that we will be creating in this tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials. In this tutorial, we will create the content view that will enable the user to get the network status of their device. The purpose of this tutorial is to show how to work with the network framework, and for that reason, it does not follow any proper design pattern. Within your content view, import the network framework that will enable the application to monitor the internet connectivity. And then the next thing we need to do is to create a state object. Private var network monitor equals network monitor. And what that does, it observes the network monitor class to detect any changes. You also need a few state variables to capture the username to enable them to log in. Private var passwords. And you also need to detect when a user is logged in or not. Now that's incorrect. This will indicate whether the login process is in motion. Then we also need another state variable at private var login status. The next thing we need to do is to create our navigation stack. VStack spacing 30. We also need to create our system name image, which is called, or which will be referencing lock shields. We make the icon larger by setting the size to 60. And then add some padding to the top, 50 pixels away from the top. The next thing we need to do is to add another VStack. The purpose of this VStack is to enable the user to enter their username and password. Let me see if the preview works. Username. Text field. Style. Dot round. Rounded border. And then we do the same thing for the password. Password. And then instead of using text, we make sure that the field is secure field. and then we have some padding to the sides using horizontal. Then we have to create another V-stack. Spacing 10. If is logging in, then we show the progress view with the caption logging in. Else we show the button login, and then that will call the login function to enable the user to perform a login. That function doesn't exist as yet. Let's create that function now. Create it after line 47. Private func login is logging in. This is true. Login status equals to nil, because we don't know if the user has actually logged in or not. Dispatch queue main async sync after deadline.now. As we want to like simulate a network request after 2 seconds. Is login equals false. Spelled it incorrectly. Let's copy this one. And then here we just include some simple validation that is hard coded. As you know, really it should be coming from an API like Firebase or JSON or some type of database. And passwords lowercase equal to test. So we're checking to see if the username is equal to admin and the password is equal to test. If it is, then the login status is login successfully or login successful. Else login status equals invalid username or password. So now we can return to line 39 That includes our login call. That will call the login function. That should be lowercase l. Button style dot bordered prominent dot disabled. So it will disable the button if there's no internet connection. Network monitor dot is connected. If let status is equal to login status, so if it's not nil, if it contains a value that's not nil, it shows the status. Foreground color red. Multi-text alignment is center. After line 51, we just add some spacing. So we just type spacer, and then we call our connection info section that doesn't exist as yet. So we need to create that now. Private var connection info section some view. So this is a computed view that shows the network connection information. Really, this should be in its own file as well. Stack spacing 5. Text network status network monitor is connected. If it's connected, it will show connected. Else, if it's not connected, it will show no internet. We next need to set the foreground color. Network monitor is connected. So if it is connected, then the foreground color will be green, else it will be red. The next thing we need to do is to attempt to display the available connection types from the network monitor. Network monitor dot connection type. Connection type. Type. Description. Doesn't exist as yet, so I need to create that as well. For type. Give it a foreground color. Secondary. The font, which is footnote. So that will use a less, smaller font. And then padding top 20. That will add spacing above the section. So the next thing we need to do now is to go back to, I think it was line 55 and type in connection info so that view can be displayed. Add some padding around the entire VStack. Add a navigation title called login with a caption, and just add some basic animation using dot ease out value network. That should be value. Network monitor dot is connected. So that'll be some basic animation when the network connection changes to offline, cellular, which is mobile, or Wi-Fi connection. So the next thing we need to do is to add our type description function. Private var type description for type NW interface dot interface type, and then this will return a string. So the purpose of this function is to convert the network interface type to a readable string, as you will now see. So we just switch through the different options. You can use a switch statement or if statement, it's up to you. If case is Wi-Fi, then we just return the string, which is Wi-Fi. Case.cellular mobile. So we just return the string, which is cellular. Case.wired Ethernet. return, open it. Case dot loopback, return, loopback. Case dot other, let's return other types of connection. Else, if it's unknown, then we just have a default. Which will return unknown. I'll just save it. See if it compiles. Missed out the word function, so that should be function, not var. It should be func. Recompile it again. Unknown shouldn't have a colon. To test this properly, it's best to test it on an actual physical device, such as your iPhone or iPad. As with the simulator, it doesn't always work correctly. So test it on your iPhone or iPad, then it will always work correctly. Don't forget to subscribe for more Swift and SwiftUI tutorials.